Can't let Iran have a nuclear weapon. And I know Kim Jong Un very well, and he's going to be fine. As long as we have a smart president, he's going to be fine. If we have a dumb president, then he's probably not going to be so fine.
Are you expecting to meet with him later this year?
Yeah, I will be.
That's President Trump on a potential meeting with North Korean leader Kim Jong Un later this year after directing the Pentagon to scale back its joint military exercises with South Korea. The president met with Kim 3 times during his first term, including inside the demilitarized zone when he briefly crossed over into the North Korean side. Meanwhile, President Trump is expected to welcome Chinese President Xi Jinping to Washington on September 24th, where the topics they are expected to discuss include trade and artificial intelligence, among others. Joining me now is former Pentagon official, retired U.S. Navy Captain Brent Sadler. Captain, thanks so much for joining us. Really do appreciate your perspective, and thank you for your service to our country. Let's go first to Iran. The economic D-Day, as the president refers to it, is going to happen on Monday. Will this make the difference? What else needs to happen in order to get those ships flowing? Now, there's a 400% increase in the number of ships flowing through the Strait, but what else needs to happen?
Yeah, so the oil flow through the Strait of Hormuz is not near where it was back in February before the conflict, but it's not going to go back to that. The oil market's going to change. It's not going to go back to a pre-conflict kind of situation. The key thing is, will the economic pressure, and it's going to have an element, I think, of kinetic part to this, of actually going and seizing ships on the high seas. Some of that's already happening, but also going and interrupting the network of trade and barter in which this regime in Tehran is living on. So if that pain can go up high enough to threaten the regime's ability to maintain control of the people, then it'll work. And it's going to take some time, but it's going to mean you're going to have a military presence there like you see today for some time into the future.
But the proxies for the Iranian terrorism that have, I mean, they have been depleted and diminished to a point where it is very difficult for that funding to go to the Houthis or Hamas or Hezbollah or, you name it. The Iranians were funding it, correct?
Absolutely. I mean, this is where I think the fight needs to be taken aggressively. Now, rather than large strikes in Iran and trying to end this conflict quickly through force of arms, it's a big order, but going after these proxies in Iraq, the Houthis in Yemen, keeping the pressure on Hezbollah to disarm, and as well as to finally get Hamas out of Gaza, these are all things that need to happen, and the pressure needs to be brought to bear more aggressively there, or else the Iranians will reconstitute this leverage that they've been relying on in the past. This regime in Tehran, quite frankly, is in the weakest position that it's been in since 1979, and it's the time to press that advantage.
Let's move over to Asia, because one of the strengths that President Trump brings to the table is his friendship, his negotiating, his relationship with the president of China, but also President Kim Jong Un. Explain what you see there, because the relationship seems to keep the temperature and the blood pressure down, and that's good for America.
Absolutely, and I think to President Trump's credit, back when he first started this outreach to Kim Jong Un in his first term, there were many of the professional and the so-called conventional thought was this would be a failure. But in fact, we had several years of no missile tests. We had kind of a détente. And that, unfortunately, has drifted back to where now you have North Korean troops actively engaged in combat in Ukraine and weapon transfers, munitions from North Korea to Russia. So I think this outreach, it's not going to be a carbon copy of what we saw during Trump's first term, but there's some real issues that could be addressed and perhaps to American advantage, and that is trying to get the North Koreans to reconsider sending upwards of 50,000 troops and laborers to help the Russian war effort.
Yeah, what the president has to balance and juggle along the way. Thank goodness he has the work ethic and the tenacity and the smarts to be able to do this. And there's nobody better negotiating on behalf of the United States of America than President Trump. I do want to ask you about, you were a Navy, you served in the Navy. Let's talk about the USS Lincoln. It's one of the biggest, longest deployments ever, but they are now finally coming home after more than 250 days at sea. Explain the atmosphere and what's going on there and how the Navy can supplement what they're doing.
Well, the carrier, the Lincoln's being replaced by the George Washington on station, so the military presence is unchanged, and I think that's important for the Iranians to take note of. the Lincoln, a West Coast-based carrier, would be heading back home, probably through the South, through the South China Sea. Another message to China, as tensions right now are very high there. But I think the sailors deserve some seriously well-earned port time in a Liberty port, perhaps in Southeast Asia like Thailand, always on the top of the list for the sailors. But there's still work to be done. The sailors, when they're doing the mission, the morale can't be higher. A lot of hardships can't be looked the other way, and I think the Navy needs to do a better job in the future. There was a lot of unexpected things that happened. The bombing of the 5th Fleet headquarters in Bahrain did cause a lot of disruption to supply chains. I think the Navy's learned from that, so they don't have a repeat. But for now, I think the sailors deserve an epic Liberty port.
Yeah, I wonder if those sailors would say, we don't need a stop in Thailand. I want to get home. I want to go see my family. I want to go I want to go hang out in San Diego. I think that's in large part what those people want to do. Thank you, sir, for your service to the United States of America and to everything that you've done in order to make America safe, working at the Pentagon, working with the Heritage Foundation now, but also your service in the United States Navy. Really do appreciate it. Former Pentagon official Brent Sadler, thank you.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.